Hi everybody, welcome to our 2-day masterclass on how we sabotage love. Yeah, it's a really brave subject because we don't want to think it's our fault. It's like that person's fault, it's that person's reason. But what is it inside of ourselves that keeps repeating these patterns? So I'm really excited for this class. This is like my favorite topic about how to change ourselves. And if you are here, please wave, say hi, see that you're watching. I love to feel connected. I love to feel connected with my clients, with the audience. So write your questions, say hello. I'd love to know who's here. And yeah, whatever questions that you pose, I'd love to answer them. Hey James, such a pleasure and honor to have you here. So yeah, so the other thing that I love the comments for is that there's chance of winning a week intensive with me. So if you comment, if you say hello, if you ask questions, you'll have a chance to win a week intensive with me where we get really deep on one specific issue with you, one-on-one, the way that I do with my clients. And so it's a really wonderful opportunity to get a really big value just by being engaged and showing up, because showing up is such a big part of healing, if not the biggest part of healing, right? So, and I have a really big announcement, a surprise announcement at the end as well. I also want to say, while we're waiting for people to join, that I have a new process group, a new group coaching program that I'm really excited to launch March 3rd. It'll be very small, a maximum of 8 people, and we're gonna do a lot of experiential unpacking, processing, healing work. It's not gonna be like me talking about things. It's going to be really like breakthrough, really somatic, really dynamic, where we get to process our feelings, process our relationships together as a group and get affected by each other. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later because I don't want to take up the time now. But it's a place where we're going to put all of this into action and actually feel it, experience it, and move through it. Yeah? So, how do we sabotage love? Yeah? And again, if you see this in replay, please put your comments and questions with a hashtag replay so that I know that you watched and so that you also have a chance to win a week intensive with me. So, how do we sabotage love, right? Today we're going to talk about how we sabotage it. And tomorrow we're going to talk about how to rewire these places, how to show up differently in our lives, how to break through these places of self-sabotage. Hi, Alif. So good to see you again, sister. And so this journey, right? This journey is from a wounded inner child into the higher self-adult. And so whenever these old patterns, these places of stuckness in relationship where we don't feel seen, we don't feel connected, we're in conflict, we feel aggravated and agitated, and our system is in fight or flight. Whenever this happens, if we're conscious enough, check in and see who's driving the bus. Is it your wounded inner child or is it higher self-adult? The chances is that if we are in a fight or flight mode, yeah, and we're in a reactive triggered mode, the chances is that it's our inner child, right? So the path from this wounded inner child into the higher adult is through feeling, right? It's through consciousness. Talking about it like makes sense. We all know these rational places. Hi, Bob. Good to see you. We can talk about these places and rationalize them and read all the books and do 10 years of talk therapy, and it might be good to understand on a mental level, but we keep repeating, and we keep repeating because the inner child lives in the body. Our trauma lives in the body, our feelings live in the body, our fight or flight mechanism lives in the body. Feel these places in our body. When we're scared or we're angry, we can feel these emotions, how they clench, how our heart closes. Maybe our throat gets tight. Maybe our stomach starts churning. We feel these places, right, in our body. And it's only when we are able to move through the feeling, and we move through the feeling by tolerating this feeling so that it doesn't overcome us and we have to uh-oh. So I think my connection is still good. Are you guys still there? You still there? Good. Challenges of the internet. What can we do? So only when we can really move through these places in our bodies can we make conscious choices and respond to current situations from the higher adult, right? So it's a journey from the inner wounded child to a higher self-adult. Yeah. So these conscious, unconscious, fear-based patterns that we devised and created when we were little children, these stories of how to feel love, how to get love, how to feel connected, even though they don't really work, they sabotage meeting our needs, really. Yeah. Even if we know how to do it in the mind, if we don't really feel it, we sabotage it. So it's a place of trying to get our needs met. Yeah. So what are your fear-based stories? What are the stories that drive your unconscious pattern, drive your attracting, projecting, and provoking? And if you have any questions, if you know your stories, please type them. I'd love to hear them in the comments. And I'd love to comment on them as well. Yeah, so this might look something like, I always attract the same type of person, and it never works out for the same reason. So if only something was different, it would be much better. Or they never understand me. My partner never understands me. Yeah, these are the types of stories that we bring online in our life that keep us feeling trapped and keep us feeling small and keep us feeling in a place of victimhood. So the way that I work with my clients is always a journey from a place of victimhood, from this wounded inner child, to a place of sovereignty. Yeah, from the higher self-adult. And we all have special flavors of the story that we devised as little children. You know, our relating patterns are neural highways inside our brain that direct how we stay connected with people, that direct how we do relationships. All of that is locked and loaded and like cemented in our brain as these superhighways by the age of 6, right? By the age of 6. And these superhighways, they are regulated and sort of categorized in 4 different directions: anger, sadness, fear, joy. Right? So we have 4 superhighways going into these 4 directions of anger, sadness, fear, joy. So how we manage these emotions, how we process these emotions, tells us a lot about our wounding and about how we replicate these stories again and again in our lives. Yeah? And it feels safer a lot of times to stay in this story, even at the expense of getting our needs met, because we don't want to feel these feelings. It's too hard, you know, so we jump on these superhighways instead of actually staying with our feelings. And so and does anybody have any questions so far? Is this resonating, or is this like totally alien stuff? Let me know how this feels for you if you're watching on replay. Say #replay. No? Okay, I think we're good. So, what is this whole place of attracting, projecting, and provoking the same stories in relationships? So let's say you're like at a party and you see this guy or this person, whomever, across the room, and there's just this magnetism. There's something about them. They light up the whole room. It's like you just want to connect with them, right? What is this chemistry? Well, what's this thing that's just something about them? It's actually trauma-based bonding. It's something about that person. What is this magnetism reminding you of? You know, maybe it's reminding you something about your childhood, about your parent. Maybe the drive to be seen by this person is a very familiar place. You know, it's really interesting to unpack of this. Hi, Bob. Bob says, I learned that putting bids out to my caregivers for love was not just futile, but actually dangerous. So I learned independence. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's like my caregivers are not going to meet my needs. So I'm going to check out and withdraw, right? What you're talking about here actually is a withdrawal. It's like an avoidance, a deep avoidance. Because when we're independent, we're actually in a place of sovereignty where we have good boundaries and we have a good sense of self, and we can come into contact and feel safe in it. That is what real independence is. When we learn that putting bids out is futile for love and we might as well withdraw, that is a place of why. Yeah. So this is how we project, we attract. We attract like the energy of the people that we attract. Repeats our stories, repeats our wounds. We're hoping that if we do, you know, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. We do this in relationships all the time. So we choose. It's like this chemistry, this like scent. We choose people who will repeat our stories unconsciously, very unconsciously. If we know the feelings that are happening, we might make a different choice, right? What is projection? Yeah, what is projection? So it's like maybe maybe you've read all the books and did all the talk therapy and did all the self-work, and you know that narcissist is bad for you. There's like this chemistry, you're attracted to that person, but you're going to avoid them like the plague, right? So you go for the quiet and the timid one and the one in the corner of the room because you know that type of a person is good for you. Good job, like very good first part of the work, right? But without doing the work, without feeling the feelings, without experiencing the stuff, we're going to project. So no matter what they do, we're going to project our lens of the story, right? On them. So let's say, like, I'm going to bring an example and I'm sort of really exaggerating my example, but like the energy is the same. So I love my partner to death. My partner is amazing and shows up, and I feel so loved and seen in many ways. And there's this place, you know, we do a lot of the work and we coordinate like our house chores, and I feel really met and seen in showing up in this place of getting things done in the house. And there's this place where the one thing didn't get done. 10 things get done, but the one thing didn't get done. You know, the jar wasn't washed enough or something. And again, I'm being really exaggerating, but it's a story. And I'm like, aha, I don't feel loved by that one thing. The 10 other things you did, great, it doesn't matter. But that one thing is making me feel really unloved and is triggering me. And there's this place of you always or you never, and you don't do enough, and it's not enough, right? Does anybody relate to this place? Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear your perspectives because I love engaging with people on camera in this way. So it's like this place of, I'm going to see the world through the lens through which I want to see the world. And till I change my lens, the lens is going to show up in that same pattern, in that same story. So we have to change the lens. Or provoking, right? Provoking. With the projection comes the provoking, of course. It's setting up situations to reinforce the story. So for example, it could be like pushing somebody's buttons, like we know what gets them, and we're going to push these buttons unconsciously, very unconsciously, so that they leave or they don't show up for us the way that we need them to. And then we're going to say, aha, you don't love me enough. You don't show up for me the way that I want you to show up. Or the flip side, you know, it's like somebody's not responding to text messages. Somebody chooses to like not respond to their partners or their dates or like whatever's text messages. And then that causes anxiety on the other person's behalf. And so the person who's not responding can be like, I knew they were needy. They're too needy for me. I can't do it, right? So this is how we provoke these same stories again and again and again. And what happens is people come into this anxious avoidant trap where one person's story becomes the other person's nightmare, right? The story of people always invading and taking from me. We attract, project, and provoke that story so that other person shows up as needy, right? And that other person's like nightmare is that people always leave. And so they attract, project, and provoke people who are scared of the too muchness and they leave. If this is making any sense, right? So we're stuck in this place where our inner child is driving the bus and is attracting, projecting, and provoking the same story again and again and again. And this place is fueled by blame, shame, and guilt for ourselves and for others. So we don't want to feel these young places. We don't want to take responsibility for our lives. And so we either blame, shame, or guilt ourselves into being like, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me. Or we blame. All right, I think we're back. The internet has been sketchy. I'm not really sure why. So this place of blame, shame, and guilt, it's really our worst nightmare. It's our worst destructive force because we do it either to ourselves or to the other. And, we have these two places inside of ourselves. We have the inner critic, which blames, shames, and guilts. Or we have the non-judgmental conscious observer, which is our saving grace. It's our higher self to break through these places. So when I work with my clients, and also in the small group that's going to be launching, we're going to be very, very, very aware of who's driving the bus, the inner critic or the non-judgmental conscious observer. And we're going to cultivate the strength of the non-judgmental conscious observer and learn to love the inner critic, right? Because that inner critic really needs love. And we don't want to blame, shame, or punish the inner critic either, yeah? So how do we move from this place of victimhood through this place of sovereignty? That's the journey. That's the journey that I work with my clients on. That's the journey that I'm really excited to work with my clients on in this new group format. Groups are really potent because we get affected by each other really strongly in groups. We tend to really get affected by each other in groups. And so how we get affected, tracking that and processing that and showing up in that is really, really, really potent. It'll get you so far. It'll get you into places in relationship where it might take years and years in talk therapy, right? Groups are really, it's like fuel to break through these places because we get so affected in groups. So let's say you're a person that shies away from taking up space and really has a hard time voicing their truth. In a group, you'll really be challenged to break through that and show up and voice your truth, right? If there's a place where you need to be the center of attention all the time, and that's how you feel loved, seeing how that affects people and showing up in more of an authentic place, in an intimate place, will allow for more connection and will rewire those old stories, rewire those old patterns, right? So I'm really excited to announce that I'm launching this new process group called Heart Connection. It's only 8 people maximum. People have already signed up and registered for it, so there's limited spots. And everybody who's watching this masterclass, I have a special surprise announcement. You get 10% off. So there will be a special code called HEARTS10. The code is HEARTS10. And you will get 10% off. It's a $120 value to get off. This process group is 3 months long. It's 12 sessions. Each session is 60 to 90 minutes. It's a really small group. It is really potent and powerful. It's not a downgrade at all. It's actually showing up in a way as to be in relationship with people and practice new ways of relating. and it's going to be really fun, really dynamic, really experiential. I will not be talking for 60 to 90 minutes. You will be moving and processing and talking and sharing and connecting for 60 to 90 minutes. Rewiring. You will be rewiring. So I'm so excited to do this. For everybody who wants to join this group, I require an initial free intake assessment. I really want to make sure that this is a right fit. So please, if you're interested, hop on a free 30-minute clarity intake call. We'll go over what this group is, what it's not, what you want to get out of it, and see if it's a good fit. And if it is a good fit, you will get the 10% off that I'm really, really, really excited about. So it's going to be really dynamic. It's going to be for people who do not want to be on the sidelines of life any longer. Do not want to be on the sidelines of groups, on the sidelines of relationships, on the sidelines of anything. For people who are ready to step into their true, authentic, sovereign power and show up in relationship from that place and feel deeply connected and feel deeply vulnerable and feel deeply authentic. So we're going to form deep bonds together. We're going to get affected. We're going to do the work. We're going to be accountable to each other and seek inspiration from the group dynamic and have a lot of fun. We're going to also dance. Every session, we're going to start with a few minutes of movement. We're going to move. Dance to a song. Feel in our power. Feel alive. Feel in our bodies. Get embodied. And be in the present moment. Yeah? So please sign up for a clarity call. I'm going to put a link into the comments. I'm also going to put a link to the information about the process group in the comments, and I'm going to post it in the banner of this of our group. And I can't wait to see you. Please, if this is of any interest, if you have these longings, show up for yourself. Yeah? And I'm here to support you. All my love and blessings.